Hello everyone, this is Tania Davies here, the Success Slow Coach, speaker, trainer and therapist, and owner and founder of the Mindful Impact Wellness Hub. Today I'm bringing you Vasso Fessas. How are you, Vasso?
Hi Tanya, I'm doing really well and excited to be here to chat to you about being slow.
Wonderful, I'm looking forward to it. Vasso actually comes to us as an executive leadership coach, therapist and NLP trainer, and I've known you for a little while now, Vasso, and I really appreciate you joining me this morning because I think you've got a pretty unique story to share with the world about slowing down. But before we do that, can you give us a bit of an idea of what it is you do as the executive leadership coach, NLP trainer and therapist, and who are your clients?
Okay, well, that's a huge question to answer. I'll try and be really brief and concise. My clients generally come from two streams, and they're generally business leaders, business owners, small to medium-sized business, and they can be the sole business owners, or they have a small team. So I generally like to work with the business leader and then their small team, or they are career professionals. They've established themselves in their career, and generally there's a commonality between those two clients, and they're either where they want to be but they don't know how to get to the next stage, or they know where they don't want to be anymore. There are challenges, problems, and usually those challenges are people, whether it's their manager, etc., or the business, they want to grow it, etc. But generally it's they know what they want, they don't know how to get there, or they don't know they know what they don't want anymore, and they're not clear then on, they're stuck, they don't want this anymore, they don't know how to get out of it, they don't know what they want, or they're at a crossroad. So they're in that confused, overwhelmed stage where they can't make a decision, they don't have the clarity. So generally they're the clients that I work with, and so what I do is help them become clear and confident about how to progress to where they want to go. And it may be, people with the best plans. I meet with business leaders who have business plans, strategic plans, and they've developed those with qualified, business people, and yet they have the plan and they have the action steps, but they're not doing it. Yeah. And so that's where their mindset comes in. So working internally to get the maximum and to optimize people performance, because in any business, it's really the people and how we get them to work at the optimum, how to overcome their own, getting out of the box, our own structures.
Yeah. It is interesting, and I think that work that you do is so fundamental, and I'm still perplexed as to why modern day business plans don't actually have a box in there for mindset and strategy. I really wish they did, because as you and I both know, we come from the same sort of client base, or the same type of people that we're working with, and the business leaders that we work with. I find that when they've done the mindset work, the entire organization morphs to where they wanted it for such a long time, but they were a bit too scared to slow down and actually look at what they were really doing.
Yeah, definitely. That's correct. Yeah. That's correct.
So the reason I've got you here today is because we want to hear about your slow story. So could you give us an idea of your example, maybe one or two, or even just one big one? It's usually been a couple for some people, where the universe has either slowed you down or you've consciously and strategically decided to slow your own world down.
Yes, many stories. I led a very busy life. My previous life, before I decided to work for myself, I was in the corporate world. I was going to say 30 years, it shows my age. 30 years in the corporate world, yeah. And I was very much a busy person. So I was the mum, the housekeeper, the manager, the daughter-in-law, the daughter, doing all of that. And then weekends, having sports and everything. So busy, trying to get it all done, because it's important that we're successful. It's important that we achieve. We can't let our bosses down. And I got to a point in my life where 3 or 4 years straight, every October, because I worked in sport, so at the end of the sports season, every October, I would get sick, really sick, and I'd need a month off work. I used to see this happening to my boss, and then it started happening to me. And one year I got glandular fever. And after I worked through it, I had no idea I had it, I worked through it, and my doctor said, Vasso, you've had glandular fever, you need to stop. And I said, look, let me stop after the grand final. And I did. So 4 weeks with glandular fever at home, recovering. And then the next year there was something else, another 4 weeks. And the next year, so 3 years straight. So that was telling me something, yeah. I started seeing the patterns, and yet I didn't know what to do. So that was one case where the universe was trying to stop me. Then it eventually did stop me, and that's another story. But the universe stopped me in my tracks, and it actually slammed me into the ground one day. I tripped over. There was nothing to trip me over. I tripped over. I went flying through the air and slammed into the ground and broke my collarbone. And that was when I was meant to be doing my study, and instead I decided to help my husband with the barbecue and everything. And here's the universe saying, once again, you're trying to help others when you should be helping yourself. So that really, really stopped me. So that's when I had to go, right, okay, universe, I'm hearing you, things have to change.
That's a pretty clear message.
Yeah. And then, strategically and consciously, when I finished my corporate career 6 years ago, I chose to do that. And I chose to take a sabbatical, 6 months off, and I chose to actually work part-time, work close to home, and it was a team that valued me for what I had to offer. So that was my strategic, conscious decision to take it slow, to be more present, to live in life, to enjoy my kids, etc. And that's what I did. They're two very contrasting stories of not being conscious, not being aware, to now choosing consciously to stop and give myself that break.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, you're one of the very few that's admitted that they've actually had that opportunity to be very conscious with some of their decisions. I'd like to see that a lot more for people, because unfortunately the universe likes to remind us multiple times, and if we're not listening, it's going to generally give us something health-wise to pay attention to.
It has. And, I'll give you one more recent case, and I did it this year. A few months ago, after my last NLP training, about 2 weeks later, I sat down at my desk and I had all these projects to do. And it was in overwhelm. It was like, I'm one person in the business. I don't have too much support. And so I had all these projects. I've got to do this, 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 and this. What do I do first? Well, I can't do that until I do that. And I can't do that. And most of the projects needed hours and days. And then I decided, hang on a minute, I became conscious. This is what I've been doing all along. So if I keep doing this, it's like Groundhog Day, do the same thing, get the same result. So I thought, right, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to repeat it. I need to stop and not do the same thing, the busyness, the trying to get it all done, and just stop and just be present. And that opened up space. It opened up space, a time where I just allowed myself to, whatever came to me, I just went with.
Yeah, well done.
And I became creative. And through that space, the stopping is where I became creative, where I was able to develop my programs even more. And that took me about 6 to 8 weeks. And then when I came back, I realized there was so much to be done. But now I'm in a different space. It's like, right, what's really important, what needs to be done? And so for me, this slowness is about being present and conscious and bringing my body along with me, not pushing my body. So maintaining resilience.
So well. Yeah. Like, that message needs to come through so clear. So I'm just going to reiterate what you said there about the fact that when you came back to it, there was lots of stuff everywhere, but you really could cut through as to what was actually the priority, what was important, as opposed to what was just urgent or necessary in other people's eyes.
Yes.
That's a fundamental learning in the slow process that I teach people. And as you said, also the creativity that starts to blossom and flow that can't happen when you're hustling and pushing.
No, and the thing is, this has been a process for me. So for people to hear this and to think they can do it, or it's a big jump, whichever way they look at it, it's been an ongoing process from, I don't know, probably from when I left my corporate career to when I discovered NLP. I continue to do the work on me. And so I continue to transform, to get new insights, to do life differently. Yeah. So for me, it's
very
a life
much
philosophy.
about the inner work. Yeah.
It's a life philosophy. It's a life practice for me. Wherever I find myself, I stop consciously, take a look. What's not working? What needs to change? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's universal in the household, in the business place. It's all going to be the same process. For me personally, it has anyway. So let me ask you, Vasso, why do you think business people in this push world, why do you think they struggle so much to slow down?
The three things come to me. Firstly, expectations. I find with most people, most clients, they have expectations. And they don't realise that these expectations are either unrealistic or based on old values. Yeah, so the second thing is our values, and our values generally that drive us as to how we work, how we operate, the things that we must do, we should do, which means we become busy and focused and can't slow down and let go. Our values are the rules. And if they're based on generations ago, the way our parents and grandparents operated, we haven't updated. And so the way they lived life and those rules, what they valued, hard work ethic, being busy, being productive, because back then sitting down and doing nothing was not on, yeah? There was judgment around that. Whereas it's really important that we recognise sitting down and doing nothing is really important, because it's in that space that we bring the awareness. It's in that space we become creative, yeah? So people think I've got to be seen to be doing. So number 2 is values. And the third thing is something you said earlier, it's about the workplace. It's bosses and managers who are role modelling, who have the expectations, who themselves are busy and productive. And so the rest of the team have to follow along, yeah? So there's those 3 things: our expectations of others, of ourselves, our values, and the environment that we're in, the expectations, once again, of bosses, etc. That's what I believe is key to that.
Beautiful. So what would be your one key piece of advice to somebody that's currently struggling to slow down right now?
The first thing is to get clear on what you don't want anymore. How is that a problem for you? So if they're struggling to slow down, how is that a problem for you? What's stopping you from doing or being or having? And then once you get clear on that, it's find a way to achieve it, yeah? And you may be able to do it yourself, or it's about looking at how someone else has achieved it, or finding a coach to help you. But getting really clear on how busyness is a problem for you, and then getting clear on what you want instead. That's the first step. And that's the 5 principles for success, which we know in NLP. The first one is to get clear on what outcome you want. So what is it that I want? What is it that I don't want? And what is it that I do want?
Yeah, people are pretty good telling you what they don't want, but I seem to always trip people up when I actually get them to focus on what they want. You may have that issue as well with people.
Well, I have it myself, but I love it, because I tell my clients and anyone I meet, well done. The fact you know what you no longer want is brilliant, because some people don't even recognize that. So the first step to change is knowing what you don't want. And that was like me. People said, well, when I left my course, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know. I don't want to work full time. I don't want to travel far from home. And I don't want to have to work in a place where, working in HR and managing safety, it was like I had to try and influence people. I don't want to have to do that anymore. Yeah. That's what I don't want. I don't know what I do want. And that's the first step. And then I go, if that's what I don't want, then I want part-time. I want close to home. I want a team that says, come on in, we want you because of what you have to offer. Yeah,
awareness is a great place to start, because that's where you get a good guide like yourself to then come along and help you flip your thinking. That's what's gold for me and all the coaches that I have in my world. So I'm curious, who in your life has ever given you the best advice at slowing down?
That's an interesting question. And you know what? I think I'm going to say me, and I'm not coming from an egotistical position. I think I've given myself the best advice, because there is so much out there. We frown on social media, but social media, the internet, has given us access to information immediately. And so we've got information and resources and professionals and experts telling us what to do and how to do it. And there are many tools and processes out there. And you can't possibly try them all, and they're not necessarily going to work. Yeah, so for me, it's about being curious, looking what's out there, and using, deciding which one is going to help me based on where I'm at. Yeah, so looking at all information available, looking at where I'm at, what's going to help me, and implement it. And then once I implement it, if it's not working, I adjust it or throw it out. But I don't stay with it either. I don't stay with it. If, like a few months ago, the way I was operating wasn't working, so right, this isn't operating. But the key thing is, choose something and make sure whatever advice you take for slowness, for your wellness, create daily habits and continue to do them. And if they're working, fantastic. If they're not, then change them to suit you.
Absolutely. Keep yourself in check.
Yeah, it's not about going, well, they've done it that way, so I have to do it that way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they've probably done it that way after 10 years of trying different things.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And it tends to foster comparisonitis, that word that we're all hearing about now, that constant comparing. If you're not checking in with yourself and you're always comparing to other people, you're going to continue to get stuck and frustrated and flustered. Yeah, especially in the business world, lots of small business owners always comparing themselves to the next social media scroll. I'm curious to know though, you're human, last time I checked. What challenges are you experiencing, in this day and age, even with all your NLP skills, which are tremendous? What challenges still come up for you on a daily basis when it comes to being slow?
I get in the way myself. I get excited by things, yeah? And unless I go back and check in with the things I have in place, I can take on more. That excitement, that passion, I can take on more. And then I realise, I've taken that on and I haven't, and I've let go of what was in my plan, what was meant to be happening, etc. So, so it means then that I've set my goals strategically, and when this comes in, it's going to interrupt it. So it means either my goals aren't going to be achieved, I'm going to end up somewhere else, or it's going to take me longer. So I get in my own way. So now I have this little thing going, okay, Vasso, what are you excited about? Where does that fit in with your plan? Is it going to support you? If not, how are you going to achieve it? Where's the time that I will give to it? Yeah. So if I've allocated my time, then where am I going to take time from? And am I okay with that? And just making that conscious decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You definitely make time in your daily schedule to get excited, because that's where some of those amazing, beautiful ideas start to blossom and foster. And you never know. I have an ideas file that sits in my office all the time, and I'm like, okay, if it doesn't if it doesn't fit in quite now, let's put it in the ideas file. I'll get back to you. You're not going anywhere. So I'd like to know, just as we start to come to an end in the conversation today, given all of your experience in the corporate world, how do you feel that the slow leadership movement and getting conscious leaders into organizations and getting everyone to slow down and take stock, how do you think that can benefit a business?
I've already seen it benefit a business. I've got one client in mind who has been working with me for 18 months. Now, she's the leader, the director, the owner of a business, and it's grown and expanded in that time. Now, by doing the work on herself, by having a coach and a therapist, doing the work on herself, she has become a lot more present, a lot more strategic, a lot more aware and confident in her abilities, which means, as you said before, when leaders with that sort of thinking and awareness step into a business, it permeates. And what she's seeing is, because we had planned for me to go in and work with her team as well. Now that got postponed because that got quite busy. But I now don't need to go in and work with her team to the extent I would have, because where we're seeing the response in her team have stepped up. She's able to delegate more. They want more. Where she's clearer and more strategic, they now are clear on what they're focusing on, what they need to achieve. They're taking on more responsibilities. They can make decisions. They're excited about what they're doing because they have that clarity. Yeah. So when the leader works on themselves and steps in and is thinking at a different level, has slowed down, is conscious and strategic, people respond. And I've seen that. So I now don't need to go in to work with that team at the same level had I started with them 12 months ago. And that's why, for me, it's really important that I work with the leaders first to get them to a point when I start seeing that they are living and breathing and role modelling some of the things that they're learning in our sessions, and I see the response with their people. That's fantastic. They either don't need me to go in and work with their people, or they say, no, we now want to go to the next level. We now want to be high performing. What is it that we don't know? So that's what I say.
That is the ultimate in attacking things from all angles, because not only is that affecting the bottom line there, but you are truly looking after your people in that space. And of course, the business is only going to benefit from that, from my perspective anyway.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Vasso, I'd just actually like to share with those people, I made a huge assumption for some of our viewers today that they all knew what NLP was, because I talk about NLP all the time. But tell us a little bit about what you do with the NLP training.
What I do with NLP training?
Yeah. How often do you do those? Who would come to you for an NLP training?
Yeah. So I run them 3 times a year. I keep my group small for a reason. Because I like to actually be give more one-to-one and be more personal, and everyone who attends then gets opportunity to work on their stuff in a lot more detail rather than the large groups. So 3 times a year, the people who come along, there are definitely those that want the certificate. Yeah, so they're already successful in what they're doing, and it might be someone who's a career professional. Who else have I had? Career professionals. I've had people that are already in their own business but wanting more coaching tools, and so they want the certification to be a therapist, a coach, etc. And then there are those who don't want the certification but want the skills and the knowledge to know how to navigate life. Yeah. How to be able to understand what makes people tick. And then have the tools and knowledge capacity to be better at what they do in any relationship, to be able to go into the workplace and the problem people know how to work with them so they're no longer problem people anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so all of the problems that come up in relating and communicating with people, that's what NLP is about. It gives you the insight as to what makes people think and what makes people do what they do, and how you can work with them to overcome all of those challenges. And, you know, career professionals, you become so much more influential. You present from a place of confidence. You step it up to another level. And that's what I'm finding with particularly my career professionals and the business leaders. Once they go back into their workplace, they have a new perspective. They're getting better results with their people and with their clients. And they're going, oh my God, the obstacles I had before where I couldn't shift these people with their thinking, I'm now able to do that. And they're the things that I couldn't do when I was younger in my corporate career. And I'm thinking, had I known back then, because I worked with people and I thought they made life difficult for me. They were problem people. But what I realized is they weren't problem people. I just didn't have the experience and the knowledge and the know-how to work with them.
I get so many clients coming to me complaining about the problem people. And like I said, once you know NLP, you can't unknow NLP. It infiltrates every area of your life and yourself. And I think for me personally, as soon as I started to realize how NLP was changing that filter that you're talking about, it was almost like I took off my glasses and I went, wow, I'm actually really starting to see people and my interaction with people in a whole new light. I think for me, that's groundbreaking.
Yeah, and we know that if we're reacting to something outside of us, we can continue to allow things to trigger us, things and people and situations. But why would we choose to do that? Because if we're not taking responsibility for that, if we're pointing the finger at others and it's them and blaming them and they are making my life difficult, what's happening is I'm reacting to that. And do I want to continue to be triggered by things? No. So what NLP taught me is if wherever there's something I'm reacting to, wherever there's a trigger, if I can learn what it is I need to learn, then I won't be triggered by that anymore. So I can stand in the same room with the same people and I'm not triggered and I'm not reacting. So I'm better able to respond if I choose to.
Yeah.
And you
take your power back.
Yeah, and in NLP training, when I did it, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. That's another story. But yeah, you know, in that training, we let go of a lot of that stuff, our old filters and our old beliefs. Because I remember that I always had a sense of there was a little girl when I was young, a little girl who had fun and loved life. And I recently discovered it was probably about the age of 5 where that changed. I made a decision because my parents were about work. You know, they migrated, they didn't have much. So focus on work and school. And something shifted in my mind. And so my mind was very much about work, school, etc. I was a good girl, etc. But so that's what I took on my whole life. Do. And I always had this feeling that there was this young girl who was fun. And it was in that 7 days of NLP training that I let go of that stuff that had made me be work, ethics, etc., the shoulds and the musts, that stuff just went. And I found, because underneath, because we take on those layers, when those layers went, what I found underneath was that person who always loved life and had fun. And so for me, whenever I work with my clients, even in life, whatever I do, I make sure I make it simple, easy, and fun. I have fun. You know, so today's a challenge with what I've got to do. But I always make sure I have fun. So
I've noticed that about you.
I get serious.
I've loved the time that you and I have been hanging around together in NLP trainings. It's been amazing.
We need to do it again soon.
Absolutely. Vasso, thank you so much for your time today. And everybody, if you would like to actually get in contact with Vasso, as usual, I'm going to be putting all the contact details that you could ever need down in the comments. So I'd love it if you could comment, link, subscribe, but also share this video with the people that you know need to hear this message from Vasso today. It's a very important message. Thank you again, Vasso, so much for your time. And hopefully we'll talk again very soon.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Tania.
Take care.